Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a massive, and I mean absolutely massive, environmental debate. We'll be breaking down the source documents and independent reviews to see exactly why critics are pushing so hard to reject the 2026 Lynas Advanced Materials Plant Expansion EIA.
So you might be wondering, what is all the fuss about? Why the intense pushback from experts in the local community? Well, it really comes down to the sheer mind-boggling scale of what's being proposed over in Gebeng, Pahang. We're not talking about a minor facility upgrade here. This is a huge escalation.
Just look at these numbers from the source documents. The expansion aims to process up to 110,000 metric tons of rare earth materials every single year. To put that into perspective, by 2036, they're projecting over 14.2 million tons of radioactive and scheduled waste. 14.2 million tons. That's an astronomical amount of hazardous materials sitting in one place.
All right, moving into Section 1, the missing health checks and the glaring lack of public health data.
When you dive into the independent reviews, a major red flag pops up almost immediately. There is absolutely no formal human health risk assessment included. Usually, when a plant ramps up operations and emissions like this, a dedicated, updated health check is standard practice worldwide. But here, it's literally just missing.
Critics are definitely sounding the alarm on this one. They point out that zero baseline biological monitoring has been done. That means no hair tests and no blood tests for the local workers or residents to track any heavy metal exposure. Instead, the EIA relies on an outdated assessment from way back in 2017. Basically, without knowing the community's actual health baseline today, any claims of minimal impact are purely guesswork. Let's look at Section 2, Environmental and Safety Gambles.
So where is all this radioactive residue supposed to go? The proposed permanent disposal facility is slated to hold it permanently. Yet geological studies show a terrifying reality. The site sits right on a highly unstable reclaimed peat swamp, complete with soft, squishy clay and a high water table.
This perfectly illustrates the mismatch. Because this waste comes from minerals, strict mining standards normally demand deep piling, driving columns 21 to 33 meters down to solid bedrock just to survive earthquakes or major floods. But the EIA, it proposes a shallow fix, digging down just 1 to 3 meters into that weak peat. Critics argue there is simply no way that guarantees long-term structural safety. And it gets wilder. The expansion relies entirely on unproven thorium extraction technology to neutralize this radioactive waste. The catch? That tech won't even be fully validated until 2031. Critics see approving an expansion today based on the hope of a machine working tomorrow as a monumental environmental gamble.
Now for Section 3, loopholes and missing data, where things get a bit opaque.
Let's talk about regulatory double standards. In Australia, where the raw material actually comes from, this exact same radioactive byproduct is strictly classified as low-level waste. But somehow, when it gets to Malaysia, it's legally downgraded to very low-level waste. Critics are rightly asking, why did the safety standards suddenly drop just because the waste crossed an ocean?
Then there's the wastewater issue. The plant's raw wastewater has extreme sulfate levels, hitting up to 55,700 milligrams per liter. But here is the loophole. Sulfate isn't strictly regulated under standard industrial discharge limits. So this daily discharge is legally allowed to just completely overwhelm the natural baselines of the river.
To top it all off, the EIA suffers from a severe transparency gap. It essentially freezes its radiological data at March 2024. That means it deliberately leaves out crucial continuous monitoring logs from the actual 2024 to 2026 pilot trials. With a blind spot that big, independent experts literally cannot verify the true environmental impact.
Which brings us to our final section, the case for rejection.
When you stack it all up, the sources firmly conclude that this EIA is critically flawed. Between the completely missing health baselines, the structurally unstable disposal site, gambling on unproven 2031 tech, and actively withholding pilot data, the assessment just flat out fails to meet international safety criteria.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If crucial health data is missing, the safety standards are being lowered, and the neutralizing tech is literally years away from being proven, what does that mean for environmental accountability? Should an entire community's health and ecosystem really be gambled on an incomplete EIA? Thanks for checking out this explainer. We'll see you next time.